Usu ane into the way maganito Mima Nuenda Anawena Miguso Ama the Bigagi Kitoyana Skater Shao Sema Wewene we put it on the Napas at the Mogwan Gil Manido in the Natamaku Siong Wewene Nishana Beunion Skater Shao Kimshuma Sanana me no Ado Bagana Isaka Gasat Skater Shao get the same hour. We go with the Kina, a Natua and Gil, Manido, and they Navas Sudam. Okay, is a basic and Gil, Kimshuma Sananik, Uncle Gil, Kumisanan Ma, the Awanan Ma, Squinigunning. Skater show and the Sir Takwagak, Nakoke, Saka Pagaga. Imana Abishika Sawa and Yogi Mishum Sananika. And I go quick and make our Sema. Now we Silawin, Nakoke, no Wapoyanan, Mamatu Wasanan, Meshkuduna Ganan, me with them. A Nakama came at the water go, Manito. Ketashma, Mima, went in again, and Nakoke, Ma, Ananda Gayan, Sa. The Mishkawa Makama gay no one way with it all, the Nayquonabe mind, and a key to mouse when the Kalinga. The Minico was younger, the ski was younger, some. Then the knee got among winter, went in the guy with Nepal hour, and the Nayquonabe. Skate the show. Kaya Kawema, me went to Kaya Wabishkipinins now. Oh, Manitou will say, the Kotamuata, the being the Gajigasa, the Alchemishum Sanana. Nima gained the pain of young and again, Matamako, saying, Nikani Menan. Nako Kaya, our Sema. We go with the gain the Kata, our Manitou swimming a yard knock on the sit. We not the market, the Natamako was a working girl. Pemui tu jeko Nayquonabe beba masuan ma shkwanikaning skera ao mandaman. We went in the nata maguna no manito ske. Kakwatiki age geta ao mandaman. The we mishkawata said that we mishkawata aware. The Pemui tu the ill and Nayquonabe beba masuan. We went in not the mark was it the Venus Kayer. Oh, I was cooking to go away and not the mark on no money to there's a way to be good and a big movie to the hill. Nayquonabe Obama Sword and not the one. It took okay, then the chicken of Abadam hold in a queuing. Venus Kayer, oh. Squana could do queer, gay win. No money doing, not a marble and gay with the Nina Basset out at the same hour. Gave me call and give Kiminsi, but they guy kid what me girl. Money do know what the Nayquonabe was. You ain't no key to our margin and Gilgama, I love a magic man. I love a mint man. The people we do at the Nayquonabe Bam is a win. People get being a shower, they win. Not the mark was it, and what we is it, and the people we do to you in the keyword, not okay, being a shower, Nayquonabe, they win. Mishkawasi, then what we is it, and the people we do it, and not the Mawata no, the Nayquonabe moon. Now, okay, oh, get the back when I gave Quamin on the Gadi no way, they win ma, and not the Marco was him. Skaters with him. I'll say, ma, going can I go Manido in the Tasha Masiga. You go gay, ma, Ganina Basata, oh, say, ma, Sagai Ganing ma. Esho Yan, Mrs. Sagai Ganing Manido Gayawag ma. Kapewin the market excited me quainament was and no same on the slaughter of Nayquonabe gave in the mark. We not the market what you go and go. Oh, Manitu, my king, and our Iman, and the Nicoke, market, not the set of Sama. Give in the wind in the cake tabanan. Natamago was young and Nayquonabe, young, Pinish and go, Manitu, Kabi, Tangi, the Manitu with that tree. Gave it the Wabanong. Wabanong, the Gabianong, the Waitanong, the Kanawata, the Owl and go, Manitu. Nicoke with the Kendi Nabasata of Sama. Gave in the wee mamma and the Kenawagma. The Natama gave what they go. The Nayquonabe is seen our Nayquonabe, went to our Nayquonabe, but so one baby we do to the Mabin case what the Natamo, what to know the Nayquonabe, me one. Get this how Sama in a mad opposite but they not be what they give money to. Nayquonabe and give me the go semen. Kaya nanti ang kaya waisiya gawas kaya siya wapuso pinas kaya kikuyak nako kaya manungan nako kaya pagpotya chiking kaya tuwiwa wala chito na ako Nayquonabe kaya siya minpo sita kaya nanti kaya natamako siya nipuatin ayama ka o kinikani minang niko kaya a Sama man Dashima Gini Nabasata Awa. A Napewata Gilmanito, Nimana Nanda Gangayim. The Mishkawamaki Yosa. In the Bimu to Nayquonabe and Guy Naboon way with it. Nujo, Nakamik is it and the Bindaku, Jigeta. Gagima gained in the Gayanga. Another mark was young scaring girl, skipping my decision. Do we not say car now? The canoa Mawa to know get to see me one. The Nasa come what near you. The me got you got take it by you. I went in the guy got down the Nayquonabe, Nuja, and Abjitu, the Omini Koiwan, Nako, went it. Mishkawamaki Nepoa ne Sigwata Okiwich Nayquonabe Minana. We should went August and the show Nayquonabe young. Angwam too young, then Anna went the swan and go Manidog. Okay, guys, you know, now what I know in Nayquonabe Muanske Mujok in the Shandan. Pinjana Magatayawa Nana Ho. Chagunana, Nayquonabe Ho. Skita Shimana Nansa Kamang O Manidu. Guys in the Unata no, the Nayquonabe Mima. Winchita, Minaka, young Sakab in Isha Yang. Nayquonabe Siam Scale. Nansa Kazig O Nayquonabe Niwadipishko. Ma Pinjana, we Sakenda Mako, no baby Winajan. Me Dashma Noja, Pay with so. And we know Jumutio when we Sakenda, Skate the shower, Nayquonabe. We young Wamitun, the big shaky way. Those guys, you know, way was young in Nayquonabe, young. Angoma Gunesh and Nakaki, just seen me and Togoma and Ananda Magua Gil Manito. Gay going, gay go, one end to see now. And the moon way was young on Nayquonabe, young Winchita. Gay not a marco, gay not a marco, young New York, I sent to the market anima. No, we win it, Dashma. The Shawayne dog was young. Saman do Saman to get told. I was told to do a short translation. I offered up tobacco to those money dudes. Those are the ones that we rely on. I acknowledge that said Mishumasan on that drum that came in here. And I express gratitude to Joe and Bud for allowing that to happen. We have 11 drums on this reservation, including one Toidewe one. And it is from there that we get our help as a people. Every fall and every spring, there are huge offerings that are offered up there to those Manidug when we use those drums. So it is from those offerings I ask that those Manidug look kindly on us as a people, that we be helped, especially with the drug abuse that is happening in our community, that we're able to, in time, eliminate that. I also talked about the importance of our ceremonies. A lot of our older people are parents. You need to set examples for your children and start going to these ceremonies and role model that. And that is what's going to help them in the future if you do that. I always talk about that. Within every one of us, we have an Anishinaabe spirit that was put down here by the Manidug. And every time we go to a ceremony and offer our tobacco and do everything that's culture related, we're nurturing that spirit within us. It is there. And when we don't, there's almost like a pain within. And that's when people reach out for drugs and all other dysfunctional stuff. And so that's why it's important for us as a people to go back to our original ways as a people. You got to remember, this Chumukaman wanted us to abandon all of this teaching. And that is the worst possible thing that happened to us as a people. Don't discount the importance of those ceremonies and these drums. You know, they had been here for years and years and generations and generations. So come to those dances. You don't need an invite. But in the long run, you know that what we're fighting here is a drug problem, the drugs. And that is one of the avenues we can take as a people, is to go after what we were given as a people. Anyway.
Obizaan. Good morning. Jagawe Gabo, Indishnakas, Nayquonabe Indigu, Maingan and Dudane, Mississauga Eganing and Dunjaba, Mr. and Danasak, Arduana Kudukwe, Minua Ogama Wabikwe, Minua Ogama Sekwe, Nuwedege Oma, Mississauga Eganing. I like to introduce myself in the language because that's what I was taught, but also because it reminds me of who I am as a Mille Lacs Band member. The first name that Jagawe Kabo was given to me by my wetness, which we all have. And if you haven't reached out to one of your wetness, or I just encourage that every day. There's something there for you to provide with the wetness you have. And there's something there for those wetness to provide to you. So I wanted to share that today. I'm pleased to welcome my fellow Mille Lacs Band members, friends, and respected guests. And on behalf of the Mille Lacs Band's elected and appointed officials, I want to thank everyone for attending today's State of the Band address and ceremony. Please join me in recognizing the Mille Lacs Band elected officials, Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin, Secretary Treasurer Carolyn Shaw-Beaulieu, District 1 Representative Sandra Blake, District 2 Representative David Neeb Abid, District 3 Representative Harry Davis, Chief Justice Rayna Churchill, Also want to recognize our Mille Lacs Band appointed officials, Commissioner of Administration, Shelly Diaz. Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Rebecca St. Germain. Commissioner of Education, Rick St. Germain. Commissioner of Natural Resources, Bradley Harrington. Assistant Commissioner of Administration, Tiger Brownbull. Commissioner of Community Development, Percy Benjamin. Solicitor General Todd Matha, who I think is on a beach in Mexico, so stays so. Commissioner of Finance, Adam Valdez, back there. And then we also have some folks that are visiting us today from some state level representatives. I want to recognize Ryan Winkler, former state representative and now candidate for Minnesota Attorney General. Enid Swagger, one of our friends who's on the Ryan Winkler campaign, is here as well. Mike Rothman, former Commerce Commissioner and now candidate for Minnesota Attorney General as well. Assistant Commissioner Paul Allwood with the Minnesota Department of Health. Tribal representatives from Chairman of the Mille Lacs Band, Ojibwe, Farron Jackson. Executive Director of Mass, Scott Deely. Our good friends from out in Pine County, Commissioners Steve Hallen, John Mycrot Jr., Matt Ludwig. Also, Pine County Attorney Reese Fredrickson. David Minke, the Pine County Administrator. Oh, I missed Steve Chaffee. I saw him there too. Pine County Commissioner. From the Onamia City Council, Joe Boringa is here. CEO of Mille Lacs Health System, Bill Nelson. One of my many bosses, President of the Initiative Foundation, Matt Verlick, is here today. Some folks in education that are visiting today, Dean Kapsner from Superintendent of the Isle School District. Harris Charlia from President of one of my alma maters, Central Lakes College. Played basketball really terribly there. Anybody watched any of those games? Wasn't the highlight of my career. Russ Swagger, Dean of Students for the Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College is here. The incomparable Onamia School Board member, Virgil Wind. Chelsea Jungi from the Onamia Public Schools is also here. Future Governor, Executive Director of Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, Dennis Olson is here. Harvey, our great friends, Harvey and Marlene Helgamo are here from also Mike Gozy, I saw him, wanted to recognize him. And then president of the Minnesota American Indian Chamber of Commerce as well, Joanne White-Rabbit. Let's give her a round of applause.
All right, we'll improvise and I'll actually conduct roll call today. All right, District 1 representative. District 2 representative. Here. And District 3 representative. Harry Davis is here. So we do have a full quorum today, thank you. So Band Assembly not only enacts revised and new laws, we also review and approve hundreds of other band business items annually, included but not limited to appropriation bills for all government budgets, including corporate ventures, non-gaming and casino operations, contracts, resolutions for land leases, foster care licenses, and grant applications. We oversee and analyze all band investments. For the sake of the time we report, I'm going to highlight a few areas in which we are most proud. We finalized revisions to the Tribal Employment Rights Ordinance and sent it to the Chief Executive for her concurrence. It became law, and the new Tarot Commissioners were ratified by the elected officials. Those new commission members are Virgil Wind, Valerie Harrington Drake, congratulations on their recent wedding, Mitch Matrios, Bonnie Dorr, Bob Eagle, Cheryl Miller, and Scott Tossi. So those 7 members replace the Administration Policy Board, which was the Tarot enforcement entity. In the coming months, the Commission will work with the Tarot Director, Craig Hansen, who will help them develop the policies and procedures for the Tarot program, which is aimed at creating an environment that provides a content workplace for all employees and a productive workforce for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. Band Assembly continues to support the Four Winds Treatment Facility in Brainerd. It was last reported that they were at almost full capacity with 16 clients. As we know, no one is immune from the effects of the drug epidemic that has attacked and crippled our community. Band Assembly will continue to do what we can to support the executive and judicial branches of government, as well as other community efforts that work to address the problem. Band Assembly has a special appreciation and a heartfelt thank you goes out to those individuals and groups publicly opposing the epidemic, such as the Sober Squad, Smudge Walkers, and Native Against Heroin. Miigwech to all of you. And for those individuals struggling with the addiction, we will continue to pray for you. If any of you have driven by the Shear property, it's here in District 1, just a few miles north on County Road 25, also known as Timber Trails Road. You can see the District 1 clinic taking shape. This is exciting because those of you who work in the current clinic and health services area know that expansion is needed in order to provide cohesive clinical services to our growing population. Coming along soon will be the District 1 Community Center. It'll include a swimming pool, additional meeting spaces, and expanded recreational services. Band Assembly appropriated the funds for the purchase of a dialysis facility in District 2, Isle. We are closing on the purchase this week. The new facility will be a convenient option for those individuals needing dialysis treatments. Keep watch for more information from the HHS department. The finishing touches are being completed at the new Hinckley Community Center in District 3. Although I haven't had a tour of the center yet, I hear it's a spectacular facility with new meeting spaces and areas for increased recreational activities. All right, government budgets for fiscal years 2018 and 19 have been approved by both Band Assembly and the Chief Executive. We were short money for projected needs based on the forecast of net revenue earnings from the casinos. After thorough evaluation of proposed budgets, consideration of declining and flat gaming revenues, increase in band membership, and a higher demand for band programs, the elected leadership agreed to authorize a small appropriation of the earnings of our fiscal year 17 long-term savings to supplement the shortfall. Our long-term saving investments are doing well. The success of the band's long-term savings is not because one person alone. The band's elected officials appointed Adam Valdez as the Commissioner of Finance to oversee the band's investment portfolio. Adam's expertise in finance, investments, and the stock market has had a significant impact on our investments in a good way. I'm going to play a short video from our investment advisor, Peter Eckerlein, from Merrill Lynch, who's going to share from his perspective the performance of our long-term savings. So if they could please start that with some sound, it would be great. Or if anyone's good at lip reading, there you go. All right, well, I'm going to continue on, and then when he starts talking, I'll stop. But anyway, in relation to the budgets last spring, I had revenue allocation plan meetings in all districts and the urban area. With the help of the Commissioner of Finance, we presented information on the band's current revenue allocation plan. We talked about the challenges in meeting budget needs based on the percentage allocations of the plan. I took comments and answered questions from the audience. We then had subsequent discussions with Band Assembly, the Chief Executive, and Band Commissioners on the various factors that require changes to the RAP. We are finalizing proposed revisions to the RAP, and those will be based on the needs that I earlier mentioned. Once this proposal is finalized and approved by the band elected leadership, it will be shared with the community members, and it will be forwarded to the Department of Interior for approval. In 2017, the Office of Management and Budget undertook a major task of converting our existing accounting software system, Fundware, to the AX Microsoft accounting software system. The conversion was long overdue. The band had been using Fundware for over 17 years, and the system had become cumbersome, hard to manage, and outdated. It was very deficient from a technological standpoint. The company that owns Fundware advised the band that they would no longer support the software after December 2017. AX is an important improvement from Fundware in regards to technology, system functionality, and the platform that system utilizes, It has the look and feel of Microsoft Office, and it works very well with Microsoft Office products. The conversion took over 15 months to initiate and complete because of the enormity of the processes and transactions that OMB handles on a routine basis. There were a few glitches, as could be expected in any major software conversion. There are still a few remaining items to iron out with the system, and certain processes include further training. But overall, the band has gained a system that will be extremely beneficial to the band and band members. OMB staffers are working hard to gain full knowledge of the system, and they will plan to roll out their knowledge across the government in the near future. I am now going to share just a few statistical numbers from OMB office. The OMB department is comprised of 16 employees managed by the Commissioner of Finance. They manage 22 areas of service. That includes 259 distinct budgets. The band has 75 active grants that we receive, in which 38 are federal, 35 are state, and 2 are private. The total amount of our grant funds is $30,961,455. The external reporting of our grants consists of 17 monthly, 43 quarterly, and 17 year and annually. Accounts payable checks processed in the last 3 months averaged 5,548 checks per month. Payroll averages 3,429 checks per month, with 85% being done as direct deposits. Per capita averages 3,200 checks per month, with 45% being done as direct deposits. Minor Trust has about 115 transactions per month. This includes payouts and hardships. So that gives you an idea as to why the software upgrade was crucial to the OMB office. The tremendous amount of transactions they process and keep records of. We appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we work to accomplish this upgrade. This past year, we had Mille Lacs Band Ojibwe motor vehicle license redesign contest. There was several submissions, and Band Assembly examined these submissions, voted and selected the plate design by young lady band member Simone Boyd Evans. So Simone Boyd Evans, I don't know if you're here, but if you could stand up. She won the design contest, and the plates are available now. The veterans plates are taking a little longer to produce, but the plates are available. So congratulations, Simone. Awesome. Since 2015, the Legislative Office has hosted 3 annual Legislative Women's Gatherings. Success and appreciation of the gatherings led to us starting condensed Women's Monthly gatherings, where we have Kim Sam with her Mothers of Traditions concept come in and talk to the ladies about well variety in life. We also play Ojibwe bingo facilitated by Rayna Churchill to keep us sharp on some of our language. And of course, we have a delicious meal. Spending time with fellow women in the community, talking about issues in our lives and suggestions on how to cope with those issues has been extremely beneficial to me as a woman and as an elected official for the band. Miigwech to those ladies for making our gatherings fun and fulfilling. We will continue to have monthly gatherings based on interest. Lastly, well, actually, is that video ready yet or not? Or are we just not gonna have it? All right, otherwise, lastly, don't forget to pick up your Mille Lacs Band flag. Got our booth out there, we have these. Oops, sorry about that. If you haven't gotten one, we will have these at the Legislative Office until we run out. So it'll be first come, first served on those flags. Display them proudly at home, work, car, wherever you feel it fits nicely. It's a great way to show you're proud of your tribe. That pretty much completes my report. Very disappointed that I couldn't play Peter's audio. Maybe we can do it at lunchtime or something if we get it going by then. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Joe so he can move on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much, everyone.
I made a video of myself that I want to share with you. Just kidding. Wouldn't that be something? Honored Madam Chief Executive Benjamin, distinguished members of the Band Assembly, my fellow band members, employees and guests, welcome to the 2018 State of the Band Address. It's a pleasure to provide you with the State of the Judiciary Address as prescribed by band statutes. On behalf of the judicial branch, it's a pleasure to see all of you brave cold weather and attend the annual event. Thank goodness we're thawing out finally. Ningabia Nukwe Indigenous, Rayna Churchill. I serve as the Chief Justice as well as the District 3 Appellate Justice. Clarence Boyd, Zagadju, Antishmin Zagadju. Please stand and be recognized. Oh, there he is. Right. Ramona Applegate is our newest member. B'nai Sequoia. Please stand and be recognized. The appellate justices hear cases appealed from the district court. We also hear Mille Lacs Band election disputes and unlawful detainer cases as prescribed by the band statutes. At the district court level, Honorable Dave Christensen, and pardon me if I slaughter your name, Maishu Magavish. Is that correct? Please stand up and be rise. Judge Christensen primarily hears cases cases involving family members, truancy, child support, civil, criminal, domestic violence, and harassment matters. In 2017, we saw a 6% increase in 2016 from the new court case filings, which is approximately 80 additional cases. There were 1,780 hearings conducted and 3,621 orders issued by the court in 2017. The district court judge, special magistrates, court staff, bailiff, process server, and guardians ad litem worked diligently on all of the cases filed and heard. I'd like to take a few moments to give them a nod and appreciation for their dedication to the judicial branch and the work that they do to provide justice. Echimeglich. I'd like to turn your attention to the presentation on the screen. As you can see, this is a drop of water which causes a ripple effect. A ripple effect can be positive or negative, depending on the situation. Within our court system, we have noticed during the past 2 years the effect of the opioid crisis has had in all types of court cases. For example, in the center is the opioid and drug crisis. The impact it has on tribal court is shown on this slide in the motion. In the maroon tint, the opioid ripple effect caused the need for children to be removed from home, which in turn resulted in guardianship and custody petitions being filed, an increase in truancy cases, an increase in domestic abuse and harassment orders issued, elder abuse issues, more unlawful detainer filings, which are evictions from abandoned homes, increased child support in paternity cases, criminal and civil complaints, and lastly, electric shutoffs for the homes of those who use these drugs. This in turn has affected the Mille Lacs Band government services in many areas, as shown in the blue ripple. Whether it's tribal police being called, housing maintenance, boarding up and renovating homes, family services removing children from their homes for their safety, health and human services, departments addressing the needs of the users, their families, their children, circle of health costs, the finance office, and so on. Each department is affected. The ripple effect moves outward, touching the reservation in all areas, as indicated in gold. Districts 1, 2, and 3, and the urban area, immediate family members, relatives, friends, neighbors, and all employees that work on or for the reservation are impacted. We cannot forget that it affects the culture and traditions of the band as well. And this is what Obizaan was referring to in his prayer for us, opening invocation. Lastly, the ripple effect, the external communities, meaning the surrounding towns, counties, and statewide. The opioid problems is not new to the Mille Lacs Band. However, it significantly resurfaced the past 2 years. This year alone, there were 12 deaths directly related to heroin and substance abuse that we are aware of. That is one death a month for our small community. There may be other casualties indirectly related to the use of drugs. This is not acceptable. I read in the band's newsletter that every department supervisor from the band's Health and Human Services department attended a meeting to create a coordinated response to prevention and treatment. I was happy to read that article because it means that we are moving in the right direction. A major goal that I mentioned in last year's State of the Band was to conduct a band-wide justice system strategic planning meeting after everyone had time to review the needs assessment. The goal was attained in 2017. During the last 2 days in August, the Center for Court Innovation assisted us in the strategic planning meeting, in which all of the elected officials were invited and many of the elected officials. Pardon me, my hands are so dry, my pages are not turning fast enough. Commissioners and directors participated. After 2 additional condensed sessions in October and November, we completed the strategic planning matrix. The outcome of the strategic plan indicates several goals and objectives to address the gaps in the band services. For presentation purposes, I will condense the top 5 problems indicated by the planning stakeholders. Number 1, our Mille Lacs Band statutes are outdated and need to be revised to improve the administration of justice within the band. Number 2, substance abuse is the most pressing community safety concern. We need to develop a culturally acceptable, collaborative, healing-based approach within the justice system to address substance abuse. Number 3, there is a lack of cultural practices within the justice system. Cultural practices, traditional forms of dispute resolution, and healing should be incorporated into the justice system. Truancy and juvenile delinquency threaten the future of the band. We need to develop a response to address truancy and provide resources for our youth. The Mille Lacs Band should strengthen communication and cooperation among internal and external justice system agencies, social service providers, and community-based partners at all levels. I will be reaching out to the other 2 branches to request a 3-branch meeting to create a plan of action to address the goals and objectives determined by the stakeholders in the strategic planning meeting. In 2017, we strengthened court security by implementing the use of a walk-through metal detector and handheld wand to ensure the safety of all who enter the courtroom. Due to the increase in number and complexity of court cases, we received additional funding for another special magistrate to conduct hearings on Mondays for the next 2 years. This will give the district court judge time outside of the courtroom to compose orders. As indicated earlier by the number of orders, it's been taking a considerable amount of time. We also received additional funding for another court clerk. We've added a second week of hearings on the band website so that it now displays 2 consecutive weeks. of the board. Based on the issues that we see on a daily basis in the judicial branch, I'd like to take the time to recognize those individuals who have appeared in court, any court, due to drugs, alcohol, or any addiction, and have overcome them. I applaud those individuals who have the strength and determination to overcome their dependency and reach for a higher purpose in life. I had my cowgirl hat on and salute you, but I don't. It's a pleasure to see these individuals moving forward in their life and reaching out to others to help them as well. Jimmy Butch. In closing, the Mille Lacs Band can move forward, can move beyond the opioid crisis and other drug-related problems. This does not define who we are as the Band of Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, as people that speak and practice the traditional ways. We can overcome by uniting, each branch working in unison to accomplish an end result. Every one of us has been affected in one way or another by the crisis, thus the ripple effect. As stated earlier, I will be reaching out to the other two branches to determine a date for a 3-branch meeting so that we can address these issues. We need to come together and be that drop of water that causes a ripple effect in a positive nature. I found this quote, excuse me, I found this quote from the Dalai Lama to be profound and wanted to share it with you. Just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have a far-reaching effect. Let's move the band forward as a whole, as a tribe united, to make a difference for our members. Thank you for attending the 2018 State of the Band Address.
All right, so now we will now hear the State of the Band address by the Honorable Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin. Please welcome her to the stage.
Bonjour, Anishinaabe Duke. Mino Gijigat Ngum, Mandalan, Indigenous, Melanie Benjamin Indigo. Madam Speaker, members of the Band Assembly, Madam Chief Justice, judges of the Court of Central Jurisdiction, fellow band members, and honored guests. It is my duty under band law and my honor as Chief Executive to deliver the 2018 State of the Band Address. I want to say miigwech to my family, to my son, Clayton, and daughter-in-law, Candy, to all my grandchildren, my sisters and brothers, my relatives, and to the veterans and my friends. Miigwech for your support, which keeps me going. Also, miigwech to the other elected and appointed officials, especially those people who have worked so hard in the spirit cooperation on behalf of all band members. And Chief miigwech to all band members here today. Please stand so we can recognize you. Come on, band members, stand up. Now that's a good group of people. The Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe is not the government. It is not those who lead the band. The Mille Lacs Band is you, the band members. The band is our ancestors who came before us, those here today, and the children that yet have to be born. The Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe is the people. Our band statutes include, in Chapter 3, the language that says, "To the people is reserved the power." And one thing you have proven again and again, it is that the power of the people is always greater than the people in power. The State of the Band Address is a report of the past year and the progress we have made. It is a report of the challenges we have faced and a sharing of our goals for the next year. In our language, there's a phrase our grandparents used. It means making decisions the right way. When we set goals for our band, that is what we try to do. Making decisions the right way means honoring our connections with one another. As band members, we are each connected to our families. Our families are connected through the band. And the band is connected with all Anishinaabe. And the Anishinaabe is connected to the Creator. Each one of us can impact everything and everyone around us. Young and old, we all have wisdom and gifts to offer our band. Making decisions the right way means respecting the gifts of all people and listening to all voices. This is how I strive to lead, by following the collective advice from you, the people. This is also how our commissioners are told to carry out their duties. Band members should be a part of every decision we make. You should be encouraged and welcomed into every public meeting. You have a right to transparent government. You have a voice and the right to know exactly how decisions are made, who made them, and a full explanation of why they were made, because this is your government. As a band government, we have made progress together in many areas in 2017. Still, it is a tough year for our band community. We faced many challenges, but none so heartbreaking as losing so many people to the drug epidemic. This was a year of profound sadness and loss for many families. For those who lost loved ones, for those who right now have loved ones trapped in addiction, I know it can seem hopeless, especially when we are surrounded by negativity. There are those in the community who have been told for so long by so many to be cynical and fearful and doubtful about our future. At times, giving up might seem tempting. But whether those messages come from skeptics from the outside or naysayers on the inside, one thing I know for certain, they are wrong. Feeling hopeless can become self-fulfilling, which is why we must never give in to those feelings and allow them to impact our willingness to fight for our families, our rights, and our future. There is a hope of a better day because the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe never gives up and never gives in. We are fighters who stand our ground. That is why we are called the non-removables. Last year at the State of the Band Address, we had just finished the 2016 presidential election, driven by the fear of politics that included fear, ignorance, and racism. We did not know what lay ahead, but we knew that allowing fear of the unknown to take hold was something we could not afford. This election was an awakening for many, a time to get busy, getting involved as activists like never before. We talked about the 1980s when our elders created the division of power system of government and how they modeled our government after the ceremonial drum. On the drum, everyone has a role to play, a way to use their gifts, and no one is more important than anyone else. Each person is critical. This is how our founders wanted government to run. They did not want band members watching from the outside. They wanted you actively involved from the inside, being a part of making change. In 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King spoke about how throughout history, too many people don't pay attention during great periods of social change. He said that every society has its protectors of the way things are, and some people who are notorious for sleeping through the revolution. He said, today, our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake. at Mille Lacs over the past year and a half. Something has happened throughout our band community, in every district, in every family, and every home. This is the band's revolution against drugs, crime, violence, and environmental destruction. As a band, we are awake. The spark of political activism we talked about last year, the kind that our elders wanted for us, has caught fire. 2017 was not just a year of band member interest, it was not just a year of band member activism. 2017 was a year of warriorism for the Mille Lacs Band. And it is one of the most profound changes to happen in our community in decades. Band members have come forward in new ways, stepping up as new warriors to defend our community, defend our rights, and to fight for our future. They are those people who testified at Line 3 pipeline hearings, the busload of band members who traveled to Washington, D.C. to protest pipelines at the March on Washington, and more than 100 band members who took a stand at the Uncuff Our Cops rally at the state capitol. From Bobby Eagle to Tanya Abbott to Mick Davis, band members from all parts of our land and all walks of life engaged in the battle. Our new warriors are the 200 adults and youth who walked in the smudge walks, the per cap patrol, who tell drug dealers to get off our reservation, those in a march for family peace, the kids in a chameleon run, the sober squad, mothers for tradition, and women empowering women for Indian nations. These band members are new warriors for justice and peace. The slideshow that you saw earlier includes photos of our new warriors in action, pictures of band members in action. After attacks on our division of powers government started at the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe meetings in 2016, I asked band members to learn all they could about our government and our Constitution. More than 30 band members volunteered to take the certificate course in our history, our band government, and federal Indian law. These are new warriors who gained new wisdom. And if any of you are in the room, please stand so we can recognize you. A record number of band members have been attending Minnesota Chippewa Tribe meetings and the constitutional conventions to defend our system of governance, our right to be self-governing, and our right to make our own decisions. Mille Lacs Band members are not grandstanders. It is not our way to talk over others and be the center of attention. We don't insult and attack others. That is not our way. For us, humility is a virtue. Instead, the Mille Lacs Band members are defending our system of governance by being respectful and by sharing their knowledge. The number of band members who understand the MCT system today has greatly increased in 1 year. What was once a bit confusing is now talked about every day on band member Facebook pages. These are the new warriors. Individual band members also came forward. At the Smudge Walk, several brave youth told stories of how addiction has impacted their families. And at the Coalition for Homeless, the Minnesota Conference, Curtis Sam and Brad Jones shared their experience of homelessness. Many band members began attending band assembly and admin policy board meetings. People like Kevin Staub, who even took time off to work to speak in band assembly about the drug epidemic. These are people of amazing strength, right here in this room. Role models who have survived hardship and lived through bad times. Earl Gitchida, who fought and lived through wars and chose to protect our country. There are those who face down the demons of alcohol, of pills, and of needles, and have become leaders in our community in a fight against drugs. They are leading the battle to save our culture and our language. And most important, the silence has been broken. Our new warriors are the mothers and fathers, the grandmothers and the uncles and aunties and kids speaking out against drugs, violence, and crime. Even grandmothers in their 80s and 90s are taking on drug dealers on Facebook. Letitia Mitchell is always looking out for our kids, And Frances Davis is a band member who spent her life protecting our health. Last year, we lost one of our greatest culture warriors, Larry Smallwood, led by example. He lived a good life and will be remembered as a role model for all of us. Mick kept the language, culture, and the traditions alive. We must remember him by trying to live our lives as Anishinaabe. What I know about our history is that band members are at their best when times seem to be at their worst. The fear has lifted and the code of silence has been broken. Our voices are heard, our new warriors have risen up, and we are awake. That is why I believe, and I want you to believe, we can and will beat this epidemic. There are no band members too young to make positive change in our community, and sometimes it is the youth who lead the change. At this time, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the work of some very special young band members. Last summer, at our annual convention of Women Empowering Women for Indian Nations, these young women had the powerful experience of being part of a gathering of strong Native women leaders. They attended workshops that inspired and motivated them to believe in themselves and help their people at home. After returning home, they wanted to keep meeting and keep the momentum going. They wanted to share the gift of empowerment with other Native youth. So we formed a breakfast club. Every few weeks, these young ladies and I have been meeting at Cedarwood. They've been talking and planning about how they can contribute to change. Later, I will be inviting them up to talk about their plans. They are examples of new warriors. 2017 was a year of transition for the executive branch. We said farewell to several commissioners. Some were not ratified for another term, and some pursued other opportunities. And at this time, I want to acknowledge Samuel Moose, Michelle Palamaki, Susan Claypool, Catherine Colesrud, and Ed Minima. I especially commend Sam, who served the band for 16 years, and I commend Michelle, because for a while she did every commissioner job by herself without complaining. Miigwech to each of you for your service to the Mille Lacs Band. Miigwech to the many band members who allowed me to nominate them for the commissioner positions and did not make it through the legislative process. It takes courage to step forward, and I am grateful for your willingness to offer your gifts to the band. Today, we finally have a full cabinet of strong leaders and new commissioners that have been sworn into office. And I would like to introduce them at this time. And they stood earlier, but I will still repeat their names as well, and if you will stand and stay standing, please. Commissioner of Administration, Shelley Diaz. Assistant Commissioner of Administration, Tiger Brownbull. Commissioner of Education, Rick St. Germain. Commissioner of Health and Services, Rebecca St. Germain. And Commissioner of Natural Resources, Bradley Harrington. Joe Nayquonabe was also ratified for another term as Commissioner of Corporate Affairs. Also our Solicitor General, Todd Matha. And last but not least, our one commissioner whose term did not expire last year, Commissioner of Community Development, Percy Benjamin. Miigwech Commissioners. Was a challenging year for gaming tribes. Our region of 9 Midwest states had the lowest growth in gaming nationwide. But as the lake recovers, which is happening, so will our businesses. The good news is that due to very smart planning and forecasting, we were prepared for the decline. Declining gaming revenue was offset by new revenue from our off-reservation hotel investment. 2017 was one of our best years for revenue from the hotel properties. With a directive to maximize band member employment, Corporate Ventures created 2 new programs to help hire and keep Mille Lacs Band members. The U Picket program was created, which allows band members to work at times and dates that fit their schedules. Also, a band member loyalty program was created to ensure band members are making a livable wage, to encourage attendance, and to reward outstanding work ethic. So far, 80 band members have received their first bonus payout from that program. For 2018, I directed Commissioner Nayquonabe to continue growing our non-gaming investments, maximize non-gaming job creation, and support more small business opportunities for band members. The commissioners are continuing to work on the strategic plan, which is based on the existing plan. The new plan is being created with community input. I want the commissioners to continue to hold public hearing meetings on the plan and present it to the people by August 1st. In administration, the executive branch meetings we began 2 years ago are ongoing. Through band member feedback, we are working towards economic justice. We must reduce government spending while moving band members off government programs and into self-sufficiency. Our goal is to transfer the savings to hard-working band members who seldom use our programs. In the band Department of Labor, we now have many exciting changes coming. Although problems resulting from turnover in leadership and staff had to be addressed first. Several months ago, the Commissioner of Administration notified me of discrepancies in how 477 support service benefits were being issued. Services were immediately frozen, and as Chief Executive, I ordered the Solicitor General to begin an investigation. The Commissioner of Finance also joined the investigation, and an audit was just completed. Federal programs are required to follow guidelines to maintain compliance and receive funding. For DOL, corrections have been made, and this program is now on course again. To date, despite the audits, reviews, and inquiries, none of our programs have ever lost federal funding, although other tribes have. We continue to operate in accordance with federal guidelines. One exciting opportunity the Department of Labor is pursuing, after many years of band members requesting that we open an auto shop, I am issuing a directive to make this happen. This will be a partnership between the Department of Labor and the Department of Community Development. Besides offering mechanical services for band vehicles, this venture will also serve as a training program for band members who want to become certified mechanics. Administration is also proposing a radio station on the reservation to broadcast information to band members. In natural resources, I am happy to report 2017 was a good year for our Olga, the walleye. They appear to be recovering well in Mille Lacs Lake. New funds will allow us to conduct our own research rather than waiting for the state's numbers. The band fought very hard this year on the legal front to stop Line 3 pipeline that is proposed to follow the same path as Sandpiper. The band is now a party in the legal process, and we stay on top of these issues through our attorneys. Because of the actions of tribes and those who want clean water, Enbridge is now required to also examine other route options much further south from our watershed and lands. The fight is not over, but we will keep fighting until it is. For 2018, we will continue protecting our resources and improving habitat. Also, Commissioners Harrington and Rick St. Germain are working to transfer the culture grounds back to natural resources. This is being done to ensure there are no federal restrictions preventing band members from working in our culture programs. In education, transitioning Nayquonabe School to an Ojibwe language immersion school is very close to becoming a reality. 5 teacher trainees will be teaching students both in elementary and secondary classes at Wabanabe and Nayquonabe. Immersion classes in preschool and kindergarten were launched last fall, teaching students only in an Ojibwe. We are very proud that Nayquonabe reading scores have greatly improved in kindergarten, as well as the 1st through 5th grades. We expect scores to continue rising this year. Miigwech to our teachers, staff, and students. For 2018, we will continue to work on the immersion school transition. We will also pursue an exciting opportunity to create a vocational high school at the site of the old college. In today's job market, trade and skilled jobs such as mechanics, welding, and plumbing are in the highest demand they have ever been. A reservation vocational school will provide more opportunity for band members who are passionate about skilled, hands-on work. In community development in 2017, a beautiful new community center was completed in District 3. This building will serve as a hub for family and community activities, wellness programs, language, and cultural offerings. Also, plans were finalized for the new District 1 Community Center, which will break ground early this year. Lady Luck Estates is moving forward, which will create affordable housing for band members in the Hinckley area. Health and Human Services was very excited to propose a new clinic in District 2, and that is pending band assembly approval. We have a very exciting housing initiative underway. Currently, there are 267 band members on a home loan waiting list. I instructed Commissioner Benjamin to find a way to clear that list. After analyzing the waiting list, more than 60% appear to be qualified for a home loan. Commissioner Benjamin recently presented this information to the band assembly and requested an appropriation for loans. If all goes as planned, we are close to being able to offer loans to about 100 band members on the waiting list. They will be given the opportunity to purchase homes at very little cost and to use these loans to renovate these homes for ownership. This way, we will move renters to home ownership. Miigwech to the band assembly for your strong support for this project. In Health and Human Services, our Four Winds Treatment Center and Healing Lodge is now operational. Four Winds Healing Lodge is the only tribally owned residential treatment center in the region. We are finally close to a decades-long goal of establishing our own Mille Lacs Band dialysis center. Located in Isle, the center will serve band members and others with 9 dialysis chairs, new equipment, and provider care. We are anticipating opening in the fall of 2018. My top directive for Commissioner Rebecca St. Germain continues to be attacking the opioid crisis with a comprehensive prevention and treatment approach. For families whose loved ones are suffering from addiction, we know how frustrated you are. Band government cannot stop a person from trying drugs or become addicted. But what we can do is offer help to those who are ready to receive it. Tremendous work has been done in both prevention and treatment. Our HHS department has developed a harm reduction response action plan. And this plan is a cultural approach to prevention and healing that involves 30 initiatives. You will find on your table a description of these initiatives, but I'll highlight a few. We have begun a precision medicine initiative, which studies a person's DNA and tailors medication to fit their unique genetic needs. We're working towards a drug court, bringing together social services, physicians, attorneys, and probation officers to come up with the best plan for those addicted. We're also looking at alternatives to state of Minnesota Rule 25 assessments. All of this is a better approach to recovery than jails. Finally, I strongly believe that we must require all elected officials and our staff to submit to regular random drug testing several times each year. It is a privilege and an honor to serve band members in an elected capacity and a privilege for our staff. In the midst of this drug crisis, we should be held to a higher standard than everyone else when it comes to setting an example for our community. As band members, you should demand that from us, and I hope that you will. Finally, we come to the issue that has consumed the majority of my time as chief executive this past year, along with our staff, the band assembly, and the legal team. Last January, the Tribal Law and Order Act had gone into effect despite the objections of Mille Lacs County. The band, the federal government, and the state now share concurrent jurisdiction over major crimes in Indian country. Rather than working with us to improve law enforcement, Mille Lacs County has done everything it can to interfere, including ending the law enforcement agreement with the band in July 2016. In 2015, we had 7 drug overdoses, and we were shocked and said, how could that happen? Since the county revoked the law enforcement agreement, we have had more than 75 overdoses and 15 deaths. Instead of working to protect our community, the county not only terminated our law enforcement agreement, it demanded that other counties terminate their agreements with us, sought to strip our police officers of their state licenses, and threatened our officers with arrest if they did their job. In general, the county has refused to carry out its full responsibility under Public Law 280 to provide adequate public safety for band members in District 1. And for the most part, the highest officials in the state of Minnesota, including the Attorney General, have refused to intervene. This is an institutional problem when it comes to some Minnesota counties and Indian tribes. A tribal attorney from North Dakota pointed out that racial tensions Indians have in the states that border Canada. He calls it the Deep North. The title was definitely earned this past year in Minnesota. Last summer, it appeared help might be coming from the state when the governor seemed to be laying down the law. After calling Mille Lacs County's approach dangerously, irresponsible, and morally indefensible, he gave the county and the band until September 29th to re-sign the 2008 law enforcement agreement. We immediately signed and sent it to the county and the governor, but the county refused. At the end of the day, on September 29th, the governor did nothing than request more mediation and complain about the Supreme Court's decision upholding our treaty rights. The Mille Lacs Band has always behaved honorably, but we are not descended from fools. At this point, the band assembly and I met, and we instructed our attorneys to prepare for legal battle. Then on November 17, 2017, the non-removable Mille Lacs Band filed suit in federal court against the Mille Lacs County, Sheriff Brent Lindgren, and County Attorney Joe Walsh. The county seemed to think that we were afraid of a lawsuit. We were not. The only thing we fear is the impact a lawsuit has on our kids and our band members. I am asking the non-Indian community, if you have problems with the band, please don't take it out on our children, our elders, or our band members. For our fellow taxpayers in the county, the lawsuit will likely cost us more than $2 million. The band was providing $3 million of law enforcement services to this county. I guarantee our, and I'm going to say our, property taxes will go up. Please ask your county commissioners to explain why they believe this is good public policy. Don't let them tell you that it is necessary to prevent the band from asserting authority over non-Indians. Let me go through a list of things we cannot and will not do regardless of the reservation boundary. We cannot tax non-Indians. We cannot zone non-Indians, and we don't have criminal jurisdiction to prosecute non-Indians. If anyone tells you otherwise, Look at County Attorney Janelle Kendall's memo from about 18 years ago. We put off the lawsuit as long as we could. The county used the best leverage it had to force us into court. It terminated the law enforcement agreement and sought to strip the band police of their authority to enforce the law. The county then pretended there was no problem as drug dealers roamed free on the reservation and our people died because of the crime. We suffered, some of the band members died, and we buried our band members. We could not find anyone to help. But help suddenly came from a very unexpected place. From the United States Secretary of Interior Ryan Zinke and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. With only 48 hours advance notice, Secretary Zinke suddenly decided to fly to Minnesota to visit the Mille Lacs Reservation. At the meeting, he offered to send in federal law enforcement to do the job the state of Minnesota and the county refused to do. And we immediately agreed. With the backing of the BIA federal police force and our federally deputized tribal police officers, there were 40 arrests made during the December per cap week. The BIA's federal police force provided the support and the assistance the state and the county would not. Eventually, the governor did order the state patrol to come to the reservation and assist, and for that we were very thankful. Years ago, Congressman George Miller, a friend of the tribes and a liberal Democrat, told tribal leaders to never allow Democrats to turn us into ATM machines. He told us to make demands of the party in exchange for support and votes. When it comes to state and national politics, like most tribes, the Mille Lacs Band has always had good friends on both sides of the aisle. We have supported and voted for those who supported us. It is true that many of our strongest supporters in the recent years tended to be from one party, so it is very ironic that we have received more help from the current administration in Washington, D.C. than we have received from the Democratic leaders and officials in the state of Minnesota. Ever since the execution of Dakota warriors in the largest mass execution in American history, the state of Minnesota has allowed land to be taken, allowed treaty rights to be trampled, and stood by doing nothing while our people died. This is not just history. This is happening right now. They are still earning the title of the Deep North. In 2018, there will be several key races in Minnesota. The seats for governor, attorney general, members of Congress, the state house, and 2 U.S. Senate seats will all be up for grabs. We must let candidates know 2 things. First, do not take our votes for granted. And second, the Mille Lacs Band will not be your ATM machine. We will target our support and votes to defeat those who let our people die. We will only support candidates for state and federal office races who support us in our rights, regardless of political party. And we will spread that message to tribes across Minnesota and the nation. One of our police officers told me this story. After the morning drum ceremony at school, a first grader came up to an elder who works at the school. They talked about breakfast that day. The little boy said, "My mom cooks breakfast for me and my brother every morning." And the elder responded that he thought that was nice and good. Then the boy said, "While we're eating breakfast, she wraps this big rubber band around her arm like this. Then she takes the needle and puts it into her arm. And then she gets really sleepy right before we go to school." We understand why the state of Minnesota and the county may not like us, whether it's because of walleyes, our treaty boundaries, or just because of who and what we are. But what about that little boy? What about his brother and his generation? What pleasure do county leaders who use law enforcement to force a boundary lawsuit get out of the life they are creating for them. The county and the governor both wanted us to sue on the boundary, but we sued to end the drug epidemic. We sued for that little boy and every other child's life, because when we needed help, the county and the state turned their backs. One thing is certain, history will not treat them well. On a much brighter note, meet wage to our friends in Pine County. We negotiated our law enforcement agreement with Pine County in May. Pine County not only ignored pressure from Mille Lacs County to walk away from us, but Pine County expanded our law enforcement agreement. To our friends in Pine County, we are very grateful for your support, your friendship, and being committed to a partnership in which everyone benefits, Indian and non-Indians. Many new warriors have emerged this past year. Young and old are speaking out and getting involved in the war against drugs. And tribal police and the community are closer than ever before. There is one warrior in particular I want to acknowledge. Band member Sarah Rice has served as our interim chief of police for the past year and a half. We knew she was an excellent officer, but I learned she is also a natural-born leader and a warrior for the rights of the band. She has fought for our band members in the governor's office and on the mediation team. She fears nothing in life that I know of, except she is no fan of flying. Despite that, she got on a plane multiple times with me to fight for you in Washington, D.C. Her courage, her wisdom, and her ability to tell your story as a band member and police officer made her an indispensable member of our team. When we were meeting with law enforcement officials in Washington, D.C., it was Sarah they wanted to listen to, not the attorneys. When a person gets very angry, it is normal to become tongue-tied. But the opposite happens with Sarah. The angrier she gets, the more articulate she becomes. She helped to get the attention of the United States government and is a big part of why we have received so much help from the BIA. She has been an outstanding leader of our police force during a time of great stress and uncertainty, and she has the full support and confidence of the officers she leads. This is why today I am making this official. Sarah Rice, meet wage for your service as interim chief of police, but your title is changing. You're now the permanent chief of police of the Mille Lacs Band. May you serve many years, Sarah. And yesterday we also learned that Sarah has been appointed by the governor, and she is the newest member of the Minnesota Board of Peace Officers Standard and Training. To our knowledge, she is the first tribal police chief woman to serve on the Post Board. Congratulations on this honor. The Mille Lacs Band is not new to fighting for our rights. In the early 1860s, an Indian agent who was not very good at his job had a meeting in Crow Wing with several bands of Chippewa from all over the region. He made this speech: "My red brothers, the winds of 55 winters have blown over my head and silvered it with gray. And all the time I have never done wrong to a single human being. As a representative of the Great Father and as your friend, I advise you to sign this treaty at once. As the story goes, as quickly as a flash of lightning, Shabash Khan, the head chief of the Mille Lacs Band, sprang to his feet and said, "My father, look at me. The winds of 55 winters have blown over my head and silvered it with gray, but they haven't blown my brains away." And apparently that room also erupted with laughter from the other Indians. The first year I worked for Chairman Art Gabo, he made a speech about the Nelson Act. He said, "I see a people who stayed on their own land after the Nelson Act tried to move them. I see a people who stayed on their land in spite of the burning of their houses by the county sheriff. I see a people who are proud and strong. In your veins is the blood of Shabash Khan and Nayquonabe. In your hearts, there is the spirit of warriors." During the last major lawsuit, another great warrior, Chief Executive Marge Anderson, led the band. In her time in office, we saw many changes, and under her watch, the band found prosperity and won a Supreme Court case against the state for our hunting, fishing, and gathering rights. After receiving permission from Gina Anderson, today I am issuing a proclamation that the Mille Lacs Band Government Center be renamed after Marge Anderson. The building itself will be a monument to her work and leadership. We will announce a date soon for the renaming ceremony, so look for that announcement. Miigwech to the Anderson family for allowing us to do this in Marge's honor. The great Lakota chief Sitting Bull once said, "Warriors are not what you think of warriors. The warrior is not someone who fights. He is the one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. His task is to take care of the elderly, the defenseless, those who could not provide for themselves, and above all, the children, the future of humanity. You, the band members, are the new warriors. Warriors put others first. Their foremost concern is protecting their families and their communities. A warrior is forceful and effective without being overbearing. A warrior is someone of character, wisdom, and insight. The true warrior is engaged in the struggle, and it is a daily fight. Warriors have honor. They never desire to harm others. They are people of peace and compassion." I look out to the audience and I see a room full of warriors. You will lead our people into a new time of peace and justice. We will continue to fight all things that are toxic to our community, whether drugs, racism, or injustice. We stand together at this time and have the Great Spirit on our side. We have our goodness, our decency, our beliefs, our language, and our traditions. We have our sovereignty as our sword and our shield. I am so humbled by all the band members who have come forward this year as warriors. You are speaking out against injustice. There are hundreds of you, young and old, and I am grateful for every one of you. You give me strength, you give us all strength, and I have never felt stronger, because the power of the people is always greater than the people in power. Miigwech.